Hello and welcome to the Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 228 for Friday, January 23rd, 2026. This is an open lines Friday. I don't have a lot prepared, but we'll get into that in a minute. My name is Dale Warner. I am head of support for Plant an App, and this is an event that we do every Friday, or at least most Fridays. It's a place to get together and talk with fellow low coders and share the techniques and challenges and experiences that you have as you're working with the Plant an App platform. We encourage you to bring something to show and be ready to help your fellow low coders. We record all of these and put them on YouTube. You can get to that through youtube.com/plantanap or this QR code that's up there right now, quite briefly. Um, we run a similar agenda week by week. We go around and we stop and say hello because we're a friendly group, and then we go around the campfire and just anything you want to talk about, anything first call, and anything submitted in advance. And then we'll get into some of these other topics, but after an hour or so, we'll go into Afterglow. That's where we turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, and begin to start the weekend a little bit. So we do hope you'll engage with us. You can submit questions and topics in advance at support@plantanap.com, and I'll do a little bit of research, put them on the agenda, and we'll talk about them on Fridays. Hello, all, one and all.
Morning.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Did anybody come with a first call you'd like to talk about? All righty. Patrick.
Yeah, I'll just real quick chime in that I used your query for compressing the log into understandable chunks, and it's been very helpful. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. We touched on that last week briefly. That's on Campfire. The event, I think, is the keyword that you're looking for. We'll get into other contributions here as we go. Event summary, 7 days. And so it comes up with a look like this. And because it sorts, well, in this case, I've used the query and put it into a listing and sorting it backwards. And so we're seeing that over the course of the last week, there have been 100 of a particular type of event. So yeah, that it compresses it down and kind of lets you look where the bulk of problems are. You can, I don't know, when you're cleaning the garage, it's easier to move the big stuff first. That the ones and twos are maybe you'll get to them, maybe you won't, but the big ones you got to get into. So is that what you were encountering? It brings you right to the
Yeah,
thing that
yeah. My numbers are very different than yours.
your site
They're
size is different than mine.
very different. But that the issue that I opened a ticket about a couple months ago is still the number one thing. In 7 days, it creates 1.25 million records. That's pretty crazy. I
That seems
still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. Yeah.
that seems unacceptable. I'm sorry. The ticket is still open.
I think it auto closed. It was kind of in my court to do some more investigation on my end. I might reopen it or open a new one at some point because I'm still kind of not getting real far with figuring out what's causing it. But anyway, but that's kind of a different story. But this is very very useful. I enhanced it a little bit in that I added a detail button that opens up the details of the most recent occurrence of the error. Um,
Nice.
that's kind of useful to be able to get the full error detail from a recent occurrence of it.
Sure. That's because that's almost always the next step. Without that, you could go, like, I'm sure I could go and open my log and find one of these 100 or the
Right. Yeah.
forgery token things. Um, and so yeah, if you're going to research them, that makes a lot of sense. Nice. Putting something like this on a page, and actually, yeah, putting something like this on a page and having it uh, available to go to, especially after you're making changes, or at least just monitoring regularly, where there's the hope of getting the log under control.
Yeah.
Good. All right, we are still on first call for anyone has anything. We'll move on. We had a client with some stuff that happened after applying a hotfix, one of our cumulative hotfixes from, I think, late December, and came up to talk about it a little bit in our product meeting that maybe it would be worth just bringing it here to the campfire and talking about it a little bit. But um, we okay, on new, it often happens that on a new upgrade, on an upgrade from a major version upgrade, that's what I'm trying to say, that there will be a list of breaking changes, and so reiterating how important it is to look through those and understand what you're getting into in that case, and then the we put a lot of information into our release notes, and it's kind of a well, the hope is that we're providing you with enough information so that you can make decisions about your system and what level of testing, where impacts are likely to be. So I guess I'll tell the story. We made some changes, and was discussed here in this group, not by any. I don't think anybody was directly impacted by any of this, but um, there was this conflict area where trying to create a user, and that Gmail and perhaps other email systems support using a plus sign to come up with a email variation. So, for example, Dale.Warner at plantanapp.com could be Dale.Warner plus test at plantanapp.com. It would still automatically get to me. So I guess that would be an alias. It's a valid email construct, but we were not allowing it in certain circumstances, and so we made some changes in that area of to make our register user action accept a plus sign in that spot. So does anybody remember talking about that at some point or
Yes.
encountering it?
I absolutely do. I had mentioned when we talked about it that I wasn't seeing the issue, but where I wasn't seeing the issue was with creating a user, but with when I went to uh, edit a user, like change their password or something like that, then I did see the problem in that situation. So yeah, and I noticed that was a hotfix, and I appreciated it.
Well, so the second part of the story, reason we're talking about it today, was that previously, and we're talking, it's always useful, I think, to have a illustration. I'm going to look on my, let's see, we can bring up the register action. Maybe that's a action form only action, of course. registration. So yes, here it is. So the idea is that this is going to create a new user account, and that email, um, wait a second, username, password, email, and so you have to specify an email field, or you can specify an email field, and then there's also this register with email action. Anyway, so this was the area that we were working in, this email area, so that it would accept the email address with a plus sign. What we, I don't know that it was intentional in our approach, but what we ended up doing was the email address now gets enforced. It must be a valid email that you're, the email must pass validation, where the validation is includes the plus sign, but previously this wasn't enforcing email validation. So we had a client that was using this. They wanted to create a user which would get validated external process, and then and so they created a completely bogus email address for the user, and our old action prior to the update allowed creating a non-email address email. And as a result of that change, we no longer allow that email must pass validation. So it caused a small issue. Well, it caused an issue. I'll let them quantify whether it was a big or a small issue, but caused an issue for them that they had to hunt down and immediately, because their new user registration stuff wasn't working anymore. So what it's out of all that, it's a little bit hard for us to see around the corner sometimes for how people might use our product, and how trying to do the right thing of accepting a valid email address with a plus sign ends up causing an impact on it because of the way that it was being used. So does it, first of all, before I go on from that, does that at least make sense? Anybody have a question about what we did and how it happened?
Makes sense.
But I guess if you were doing this through forums and you were doing email validation on your form field, that never came into play for you, really, did it? Because you would have been validating your email anyway, right?
Right. If you were validating it, it wouldn't come up. But if you
Yeah.
were silently, it's an odd use case,
Yeah. Yeah.
intentionally picking a bad email address. I mean, empty would have been acceptable. An email address provided by the user would be acceptable, but an email address that is being created by the logic of the action stack
Yeah.
got caught there. So the product team asked me to bring this up, the idea that we're providing information about the things that we're trying to fix, and as much as I mean, to the degree that we can, the things that we anticipate that are breaking changes, we identify them and say you need to be aware of this for your particular, could cause an issue for you. But beyond that, the areas where we're making changes, it's worth thinking about those, the messages that we have on our individual hot fixes, and particularly in the major upgrades, the we provide a lot of content in the release notes, to think about whether those might impact your scenario, and would at least give you the clue of the area to test. I'm not sure that it would, I think it would be difficult for this client to have found this, and yet it, there's a clue, and we wanted to point out to think about those areas where we're making changes. And think about your edge cases and the things that you're doing differently. And then that got me to thinking about this. It's difficult, and it'd be interested to get your viewpoint, but you do some development, site runs 2, 3, 4 years, and quiet, and you perhaps don't recall the individual details of what you set up. So, um, you know, realizing that like in this circumstance, that there was uh, a fake email address being used, you might not know it until you encounter it. So it's just kind of a question of how can you know before somebody calls and says, "Hey, I have an emergency. I can't register users." Anyway, that got me back to
under the heading of, oh, there's something else hiding in the product. What is that user registration action that you just pointed out? I've never used that.
Well, let's see if I can find it again. So on a form, um, a user, it will allow people to create a new account. The original intent would be you've got an empty site, a site, no users. You want to let users wander into your site and sign up all by themselves. So you're doing this as a form instead of using the DNN um, registration tools. Right.
Okay.
Lot of A lot of sites, the controls provided by DNN are completely sufficient to allow login, registration, password forgot, all that stuff. But if you want to do more when somebody creates an account, like um, either vet them to some degree or um, maybe collect additional information so that and that would be the intent. And now maybe I'll turn it back around. Anybody else using this action, and how why you use this instead of the DNN version?
I use this action quite a bit, and I find it very useful. There are times when I need to have people's details, meaning their name and especially their email address, and I will wind up making a user account for them this way using this action, and they don't know that. They don't need to know that. I'm just keeping track of things. I'm not signing them up for anything they wouldn't want to be a part of. It's pretty useful. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've always used this from way back. And yeah, it just creates a lot of flexibility in how you can register people.
Cool. So maybe trying to round out my topic, the struggle of applying, whether it's any kind of an update, including, even the smallest cumulative hotfix with one item in it, is that it introduces change. And I mean, I know that you all know this, but there's many sources of change for a plant and app platform, including the things that we're releasing, but also the DNN platform itself and your user data and the things that you do. So any kind of a change can impact your users. So the question is, how do you handle that? And so I'm just going to throw out, on the continuum of how you test after you install something from us, or even a DNN update, or anything like that. There's, at the low end, you don't test at all, or you do light testing where you're going to resolve any issues you come up with or roll back. Um, there's we talk often, I know we talked about it last week, having a development system or a clone, and doing more extensive testing after you do something to verify that everything's working the way that you want it to. Wanted to remind you, and then anyone listening in replay, that we did a low-code cafe, and this is on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/PlintonApp. You can search for automated testing. We did 3 different episodes on different ways that you can test. Let's see, I actually have that here. That the 179, we dealt with testing forms to make sure that the forms are doing the things that you want it to do. Part 2, business logic, was in the idea of testing workflows, or building workflows in such a way that they're testable. And then if it really just has to run and you're willing to invest in it, then you can test flows with a tool like Cypress, and we showed how to do that, or at least how it can be done. That and this is really the core of our end-to-end testing system, where internally we test the product in a number of ways using Cypress, so that we can automate a particular scenario, like a login scenario, or a user working through whatever it is your scenario is, and whether or not the system continues to respond the way it did in the past, or the way you expect it to. So, like I say, there's this continuum, and if you really just have to know, then ideally you would do automated testing, perhaps on your you could either be on a production or on a staging environment to verify that things are working as expected. But the client I was talking to was kind of expressing some frustration that they have 700 or 800 pages, all with forms and listings and different experiences, and programmed over a long period of time. How do you apply an upgrade? How do you test that all those things continue to work exactly the same? It's a difficult problem, and not just a PlintonApp problem. It's overall problem. Comments? All right. If not, I'm going to move on to I guess the closeout of that is, look carefully at the release notes, and look carefully at the content that we're publishing. We really do try to provide good information about what's going on when you apply a cumulative, when you apply a particular update. Anyway, I've mentioned over the last couple of weeks that version 128 has officially been released. I think we're still working on getting the announcement out, but it is released and supported. Mentioned last week that the SQL user has to have DB owner rights in order to install it, and I hadn't mentioned before, but this has always been the case, that the IIS user, the user define an IIS that's running the app, has to have full rights to the file system. so that it can create and delete folders and content. And we have some users that are using hosting services that use a Plesk control panel, and sometimes that, for reasons I don't really understand, you end up with less than full writes on the file system, and then it'll crash an upgrade. So these are just kind of things that are useful to check before, if you're not sure. Be sure before you try and apply an upgrade, because things will go wrong. Anyone struggle with keeping full rights applied? Anybody using a Plesk control panel?
My hosting uses Plesk, but I haven't had the issue so far.
And if you have a scenario where you're self-hosting, you're running, you're in control of IIS. My experience has been that you establish this user correctly. It's kind of a set it and forget it kind of a thing, that it just remains set that way. And so my guess is the fact that I happen to see it more often with a Plesk kind of control panel is that that control panel is doing things for you that you don't necessarily see, and might be trying to do that, versus IIS isn't going to make changes for you automatically. I like to keep you up to date on documentation, if nothing else, than to show you that I do work for you week by week. We added a page here about how to define the SQL user and minimum privileges, and I just mentioned that DB owner is required, and that's probably a little bit simplistic, and this one covers it a little bit more. If you really want, if you're in an environment where you want to do least privilege, then there's a description of you can have something less, but exactly how to do it, that has to have the grant schema as well as DDL admin. So that's a slightly more nuanced. If you just give it DB owner, then it's got enough rights to do anything it needs to in the database. If you want to do least permission, these are the actual least permissions you could give it. So that's out there. On the community forum, let's close out some stuff here. On the community forum, there seems to be two open topics. So one was that somebody interested in hearing more about users that have upgraded to 128, and wasn't much added to this, but I'm sure they would still appreciate any of your experiences. And then Peter Schottman added this contribution, which, well, I guess we'll go on to contributions, but a small job to remove empty log files. So that was getting into the spirit of using some PowerShell. So I guess maybe I'll just move right on to that. So in campfire.plantonapp.com, if you go to contributions, there is this most recent contribution ID that tells you what it is. I haven't tested this. This was just contributed directly, but it's in the form of an automation job, and it uses PowerShell to walk through the entire directory and get or down to the particular directory and get rid of empty log files. So anybody using more PowerShell now that the PowerShell action is available and we have resources that easily generate PowerShell?
Yeah, I've used a couple.
I think it really opens doors. Ben, hello.
No, I was just raising my hand saying that I've used it too. In my case specifically because I needed to access Active Directory.
Yep.
I've not used it as of yet.
This particular one seems like a neat maintenance task. Just you've got empty logs from days and weeks and months ago, and just wanting to get rid of them. And rather than it turning, I mean, it just helps you administer your system. So it's a great job. I could see. I know that I have encountered systems. One of my personal systems, I got into it and found that there were logs that had content that were a year old, and my particular approach to this would be I need to look at what's currently happening on the system and improve the logs. So I'm probably not going to go back and look at a log from a year ago. So putting something in place that deletes logs older than 30 days or whatever your tolerance is, again, would be something that would be easily solved here. It's probably solved elsewhere as well, but this could be an approach. Anyway, thanks to Peter for adding that. I'd love to see those contributions expand week by week, month by month. This is all I had prepared for today. So now it's really time for you to have a topic or yeah, Matt, I see you're coming off. What do you got?
Perfect. I have a question about the URL rewrite rules as it applies to filtering entities. I just got to my desk, so bear with me 1 second. If I have a filter and I say it's users and I filter by last name, it puts up question mark filter dash last name equals whatever. If you were to take and copy and paste that URL in another page, the friendly URL rewrite gets rid of the question mark filter and replaces it with a /.
Right.
And this may be something I'm sure it's been covered before, but I could not put my hand on it. How does one go about that? So I'd like to embed essentially a filter in a text field, to go do something. In fact, I'm using Ben's most excellent dash cards as my jump off point.
So
I have an example if you want to. I can share if that helps.
Well, if you're inclined to share, I would love that. That'd be great.
Okay.
Not
All right. Okay, so I have, as mentioned, all right, so I've got this simple grid. You filter by last name, puts up the addition to the URL, but if I were to copy this into a new window, it then replaces that with the / filter, and it doesn't work. So what I have is, I'm trying to get this to work within a dashboard type setup where it would apply the filters correctly in a grid or listing friendly format.
So this, I'm looking for it, but I believe it's the like human friendly. It's a web config.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know exactly where it's stored, but all right, so let's back up. What I was, so I don't necessarily need to, I want to stay on this page, so I don't want to go anywhere. I would just like to update the URL with the correct parameter and have it refresh the grid. So I had experimented, not successfully, but experimented with, instead of inside the dash card, you can see here's one with a straight URL. This, and again, Ben, thank you very much. I appreciate this. You can see that it puts the URL that you want to, in this case, redirect to here. Okay, that doesn't work for me because even if I redirect to the same page or a different page, it takes my filters and essentially strips them out. So that doesn't work. The next thing I think, yeah, here's the one with the actual filter in there. Okay, that doesn't work. So what I was then, I think I have it in here, is yeah. Just updating just the filter. Then I also was experimenting with trying to call the API call to simply update the URL query string values. So not successfully. So I'm wondering if you geniuses have any good suggestions.
Quick question. Can you show me what it does again to your URL when you try to paste it in there?
Sure, I'll take this. This has got a filter on it. I'll just go to a new URL. You can see that the question mark filter is there, right? I just hit enter. It replaces it with that / and then doesn't filter.
Okay, I think I might know what this is. This is, if I'm not mistaken, a DNN setting in the URL processor from human friendly. You need to flip it to advanced, and I believe that's found in the web config. It's the way you have the entire DNN setup done.
The other possibility I'm wondering if you tried is SEO settings. Under URL management expressions, there's expressions that you can add in exceptions to the friendly URL provider. I don't know if it. Well, that's turning off the friendly URL provider entirely. You can do that. Yeah, that's a.
Which is I would.
But under expressions, there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So
okay.
do not rewrite URL regular expression, and further down there's a do not where is it? There's something specifically about, scroll down a little bit more. Do not use friendly URLs regular expression. So I go over the information icon to learn more about it, how it works. I've used this in the past, I think with some success, but I don't remember exactly what I had to put in there to get that to work. But I think that that's another possibility that you could do. Like maybe if you just if you enter in here your
base URL or
No, the parameters that you're using there.
So like, for instance, question mark filter equal sort of thing.
Or just the filter hyphen something equals part. Yeah, that if you enter that in here, you'd have to, explore this a little bit to learn exactly how you should enter it because it's a regular expression, right? Which we, although there's some very specific things you have to do with a regular expression, um, it might solve on a case by case basis what you're trying to solve.
So then I have to have, for instance, I would have to have, well, in this case, I would have to have the filter, which I think would be,
It might be possible that you could just put in a dash card grid filter as a, like don't maybe don't rewrite URLs that include dash card grid filter.
okay,
Just
okay,
that, anything that goes to that page, don't rewrite the URL, something like that. I
yep,
can't remember exactly, but I know I have used this with some success in the past.
thank you. I will explore that. I appreciate that very much.
And just to give
So,
you some additional info, at least from what I was referring to, because I
Yep,
know I had issues with this, and it is in the web config. It's if you search for DNN friendly URL in your
yep,
web config, you'll see an item for it.
let me
It
interrupt
says
for just a
add new.
second. Let
Yep.
me. I agree entirely with you, Ben. I just want to before since Matt is screen sharing, I just didn't want him to put his web config
yeah.
uh, on the screen because otherwise I'm going to have to blur it, right? So, okay, now carry on. I agree
All
with
right.
Yeah.
where you're going.
There is an item when you look up DNN friendly URL, the last kind of property to it is URL format. A lot of people have, in quotes, human friendly. I had that used to be DNN's default setting. I don't know if it still is. It might still be on an install. I'm not sure. But when you do human friendly, that's when it does those slashes to try to make it
Mhm.
human readable. Um,
Yeah,
when
that's
you
exactly
change
what I got.
URL format to advanced, it will
Okay.
leave the slashes where you put them. But if you also feed any additional parameters using the question mark, it will
Okay.
not touch those. So my personal opinion, I shouldn't say personal opinion because that's what is it, a double entendre or something like that?
I
I
myself personally, that's what you need to say.
yes,
Yeah.
I myself personally like the idea of switching it to advanced in the web config, mainly because that means you have consistent behavior throughout the entire system and not specific behavior to certain areas. Because then a year from now, you go to do the same thing on another page, and if you only affected that one page or that one area, and then
Yep.
it's starting to happen again, you're going to say, I thought I fixed this. How did I do it? If you do it this way, it's just going to be a consistent fix, and this is the way your system will behave across the board. But that's just me.
No, consistency across the board is probably a good thing, right? All right, I'm just going to share this snippet from so this is what we're looking at here. Um, where would I get the alternative to this?
You already have
You already
advanced.
have it. Yeah. URL format advanced. So
Oh,
if it's still rewriting,
okay.
then there's something else in play. Because I know I had the same kind of situation because it was messing with my URL. And when I was expecting the question mark with my parameters, it was putting in those slashes and totally destroying it. As soon as I flipped it to advanced, I never had an issue again. If you're still seeing it, there's got to be something else in play then that's rewriting your URL.
Hmm. Okay.
On our site, it's also set to advanced, and I know that the same thing happens for us sometimes as well. So there is something else going on.
So what's this regex match in here? Do you know? Oh, that must be for the uppercase, maybe?
Yeah, it's for everything. It's just basically matching any URL Basically the letters, lower, upper, number, space, underscore, dash.
Yeah. Okay, so something else besides this is triggering that rewrite of the URL. Okay.
Yeah, you don't happen to have the URL rewrite module installed on your IIS and actively doing something, do you?
No. On IIS, no. Was started out as a straight vanilla DNN plus plant and app install. I never touched any of that.
Isn't URL rewrite? I think that would be in the web config as well. If it exists, you might search for rewrite and see if you
Not necessarily, because there could be different places. If you put the URL rewrite rules on the server and not the site, if you put it on the site, it'll put it in the site's web config. But if you put it at the server level, then it won't be at the site web config.
All right, I've got something in here. I've got this one instance. Let me just show you this. This is in a separate spot entirely on in the web config URL rewrite module.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's a .NET Nuke thing. That's not the IIS.
Yeah, no,
That's
that
normal.
okay. Okay.
And perhaps that's the place where the ones that Patrick had pointed you to might be being handled.
Perhaps.
So,
yep.
This be influenced by IIS.
Yeah. If it is influenced by IIS, then it is kind of the stock out of the box IIS settings. Which I think if that were the case in this, then a lot of people would be seeing this, maybe. I don't know. All right, so what about an alternative to this? And what I was thinking was instead of this trying to execute the API call to update the query string. Good idea, bad idea?
it feels like you're trying to fight against a behavior that isn't standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
getting to the root cause of what you're doing is probably better than trying to fight against it.
Yep.
You might succeed, but you might be fighting it forever. So,
Okay.
Check out the if you go back to I'm just looking at this SEO settings a little bit more. There's a setting there that I didn't mention before that I think might be even more. It's a keep and query string regular expression, and
Oh yeah, this one.
yeah, that might be that there I think might be really ultimately where you want to and
and
Oh
I
yeah.
wonder if
and
we
what
could take a look at what we have as some of those
Yeah,
settings.
I'm pulling mine up. Just I'm curious to see what
yeah.
mine is because I never had this issue.
I would think that you could potentially take that regular expression and your URL into ChatGPT and say, "Can you help me modify this regular expression so that this URL does not get rewritten?" That's
That
that's that's what I would do.
and Patrick, I think you're on it. I think
Yeah.
so. That is what I will do.
Just as a quick scan, that appears to be the same regular expression that I already have, and the ones that you have up
Yep.
on screen look to be the ones that I have.
Yeah, Matt's keep and query string regular expression is matching mine as well.
All right, so just out of curiosity, would any of you gents mind just giving it a try on a grid and see, does this behavior happen to you?
I've seen it, but the weird thing is that it's kind of random, and I'm not sure why. And in most cases, I feel like that. I don't know, Dale. Is that something that always happens? That
Well, one um, one thing that I think that I know is that in our redirect actions, and I gotta get to which one I'm talking about here, um, that there is a use provider, um,
right? Yes, that was gonna.
and I
Yeah.
and that always I think it defaults to checked, and I always uncheck it. That one does it. Let me see if I can.
I mean,
I
I can
can
confirm.
confirm I just used it on a grid and it works fine for me. It doesn't rewrite my query string on a grid.
I just did the same thing. I took a grid I had open already with a bunch of query string, and I copied and pasted it into a new window, and it worked fine. And I haven't, but we use the friendly URL provider.
Hmm,
So I'm not.
not sure what I'm doing wrong.
All right. Do you have others that you want to show us? You ready to
No, I'm trying to
get rid?
find out how to stop sharing.
Yeah. Let's see. Maybe I can. I'll take it back.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So let's see if I can find this action that I was talking about. So redirect to URL is not the one. So it's redirect to page. Redirect to portal page has this use URL provider to form query string. And if you leave this checked,
Hmm.
it will convert it to ID1 instead of leaving it as question mark ID equals 1. So I routinely uncheck this if I happen to be using this action. I don't think this is what you're encountering, but
No,
uh, that's
but
the
yeah,
way.
I see. Yes, I see what you're saying. Okay, well, I got a direction to head in, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, so what was that? I think that was no. Yeah, here we are. That's what that was a ghost story. I'd love to if you find an answer or want to hit it again next week, we'll be happy to
Okay,
try and take it on. I'll be on the lookout for that one as well.
yeah, thank you.
Cool. We have 5 minutes to wrap. Somebody else? Then I'm going to say that we made it. So I will thank you for spending the hour with us. Hang around if you like for the afterglow segment of our discussion, and if not, we'll be here again next week. Thank you, one and all.